There's no confusion, there'll be no pollution. I'm so thankful I've decided to change my ways.
Welcome back to the Leaving Eden podcast. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Sadie. Happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish listeners. Happy Kwanzaa to people who celebrate Kwanzaa. Sadie.
And happy solstice to those of our listeners who celebrate solstice.
Yeah, all the witchy people that listen to our show, or just
and any other holidays that we are missing. Happy holidays to everybody.
Yes, all of them. Today is our last episode of the year. Hold on, we didn't introduce ourselves. My name is Gabrielle Hacohen.
And I am cult expert Sadie Carpenter.
Cult expert Sadie Carpenter. I love it. Today is our last episode of the year 2022. We're going to be taking a break next week because next Monday is, I believe, the 26th. And we just want to take that time off. So we will be joining you again after this episode. It will be the new year, 2023. But today we have a special episode. Sadie, do you want to talk about what our episode is today?
Yes, so today, Gabriel got me to watch a movie that he has been trying to get me to watch for approximately 2 years. Is that correct?
I think that's about correct. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Truly.
And the movie is called The Hebrew Hammer.
Yeah, and so today we're going to be talking about The Hebrew Hammer. It's a great film. It's like a send up. If you've ever seen like old blaxploitation movies like Shaft or Sweetback or you know, I guess Quentin Tarantino did his own send up of those kind of movies called Black Dynamite. If you've seen any of those movies, Shaft is kind of like that. I mean, Hebrew Hammer is kind of like that, but
Across 110th Street is one that I enjoyed. But Shaft is, Hebrew Hammer is a parody movie in that style. It was extremely funny. I had a really good time watching it.
And we're going to be talking about that today. But before we get into that, the Leaving Eden podcast is the podcast about my BFF and co-host, Sadie Carpenter's life in and escape from the independent fundamental Baptist cult. We talk about this cult. We talk about other cults. We talk about religion. We talk about fundamentalism. We talk about the real and present threat that cults and cult ideologies pose to society as a whole. And it is our goal to promote freedom of mind, freedom of thought, and freedom of religion. So if you like our show, if you're a fan of our show, there's a couple of things that you can do to support us. Number one, you can hit that follow button or that subscribe button on wherever you're listening to this podcast. You can join our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Leaving Eden Podcast. And you'll get access to extended versions of most of our episodes that are also ad-free. Yeah, they're extended, uncensored, and ad-free. And what else can you do? You can join our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/Eden Exodus. And you can join our subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/Eden Exodus. Anything else I need to say, Sadie?
I think that is it.
That's very cool.
I think there was something I was supposed to promote, but now I can't remember what it was.
Well, Red Hoof didn't end up having their show. Oh, you can listen to my other podcast if you like Formula One racing. It's called House of Speed Podcast. That's coming. That's out now, and you can listen to that. It's super fun. I think that's all
listened to the first episode this morning.
I'll ask you off air what you thought of it, but it's fun.
Okay.
I like doing it.
I think we're ready to get into our patrons.
Yes, I'm sorry. This is a little bit discombobulated here. This is the first episode that we've recorded since I moved across the country to Philadelphia, and I'm in my new apartment in Philadelphia right now, and it's a little bit just like I don't want to say I'm out of sorts. I'm out of like I'm in a new environment that's not what I'm used to. Anyway, I need to thank our Faith Promise Missions tier patrons and our I Gave It All tier patrons. I Gave It All tier patrons, same two of you who continue to support our show, going above and beyond what we could reasonably expect or ask of anybody. Melissa Mosley and Kathleen Moncrief. Fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you so much to Kathleen and Melissa.
Yes, fantastic people. Truly, 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 we are thankful for your contributions in this season of thanks. And our Faith Promise Missions tier patrons, who are also people who we are quite thankful for: Alex Todd, Allison MacArthur, Anisha Patel, Brittany, Brooke Tully, Krissa, Crystal Patterson, Dear Ethan Hansen the Musical, Eleanor Donahue, Elizabeth DeWorth, Emery Fairlosser, Hannah Ross, Hope Norim, Horton Here's a Shane, I'm just here to send Sadie True Crime podcast suggestions, aka Meg, Jen Kaharski, Jessica Tambo, Jonathan Miller, Kay Turwee, Kristen Marie, Lauren Vander Wall, Linda Morgan, Lindsay Goss, Lorena Watson, MC Crunchwrap, hashtag the boy who cried sauce, Michaela Upright, who says go Cox, screw Clemson, which who are the is that the Gamecocks?
Yeah.
What team is that? Is that South Carolina?
I think Carolina, something Carolina, South or North Carolina. Yeah, I think it's South Carolina.
My team is the Oregon Ducks, who, thanks to horrible coaching decisions, ended up just losing the Civil War game versus Oregon State when they definitely should have won that game. But they just made terrible decisions at every turn and then ended up losing.
My brother's brother-in-law coaches high school football, and they won the state championship in Kentucky.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
well,
congratulations to Keegan.
Yeah, congratulations. Wow. Good job, Keegan. Fantastic, man. Kentucky, that's really impressive, and that's a wonderful thing to have happen.
Michaela's screen name made me remember that.
Yeah. Well, Madeline, we have Madeline Antrim, Madeline Cusick, Marlena Stuve, Mary Elizabeth Williams, Mary Martin, Megan Arendt, Rebecca, Rob the Methodist, Sarah Reese, Stephanie Johnson, Susie, Tara McNamara, the Lady Rabbi, Tiffany Enderby, Walnut, Son of Walnut, and finally, Wes the Cowboy. We love all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much to all of our Faith Promise Missions patrons and to everyone who supports us over on Patreon and to those who support us through word of mouth, through social media posts, everything else that you do. When we got our Spotify Wrapped a few weeks back, we saw that we ranked really well in terms of podcasts as one of the most shared podcasts.
Oh, wow.
I think we were in the top 5% most shared podcast. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think you sent me that screenshot. I didn't really look a lot at the Spotify Wrapped. I just kind of look at the numbers for like, do we get a lot of downloads? Because that's kind of my metric. But, you know, I don't like to compare us to other people because I feel like comparing yourself to other people is a way to make yourself unhappy no matter what. But That's it was true. Nice to see that our listeners are doing such a fantastic job of supporting us, which reminds me of another person that I want to give a special shout out to was Emmy, who I actually got to meet on my trip over. You know, I posted on Instagram. I was like, hey, I'm going to be making my cross country trip, any places where I should eat, any places where I should visit. And Emmy was like, Emmy is one of our listeners who sent me a message saying, if you're going to be in Minneapolis, St. Paul, you know, hit me up. And I actually got to meet her, which is fantastic. So it was a good evening. Fun times were had by all.
And I was so happy that you two got to meet.
Yeah. And she gave me a craft that she made, which I'm going to, when I hang up my Jack Hiles picture in my new bedroom, which hasn't been hung up, I'm going to hang up the crafts that she gave me with the Jack Hiles picture. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Was Emmy the only neat thing that you got to see on your cross-country trip, or did you take another little excursion that you'd like to tell us about?
Sadie, I feel like this is a leading question. I feel like you already know the answer to this.
You caught me. That is absolutely a leading question.
So, I was driving from Eau Claire, Wisconsin to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on the third of my 4 travel days, which is a very long drive. And I was, my drive was taking me through the Chicago area. And I thought, you know, what's in the Chicago area that I could go see?
Giordano's Pizza.
Yes, actually, but no, it was I should have gotten some Chicago style pizza. I didn't get any Chicago style pizza, which is
You should not have, because you would have made me too jealous.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can come out and visit me here and we can get pretzels. So that's kind of what they have out here. That's the thing. They have cheesesteaks and they have pretzels. But no, I went to First Baptist Church of Hammond in Hammond, Indiana. Because it was like really right on my way. Because I was going through Chicago and the highway just takes you south right through there. And yeah, I got to see First Baptist Church of Hammond.
I'm dying to know what your thoughts were on it. Like, was the building bigger than you expected or smaller than you expected? How did you feel about that?
Okay, so yeah, as far as size wise, it's about this. It's like the size of a city block. It's like a whole city block is this one building, and I guess, and it wasn't like not a large city block, but like a medium to small sized city block. Still, like it's a large building. I guess from when you're pulling off the highway, it doesn't look so big, but then when you get up close to it, it looks a lot bigger. So my thoughts on First Baptist Church of Hammond, just from visiting the place, not seeing anything that happens there, I didn't even see any people around it. The thing that I guess it was better than I expected and worse than I expected in different ways.
Interesting.
I expected the building to be much gaudier. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm used to, I don't know. I was expecting the building to be much gaudier, much less tasteful, but really it was just like a red brick building with some, with some churchy details on it. Really kind of understated.
Saw both. So the Jack Hyles Memorial Auditorium, which it's now called Jack Hyles Memorial Auditorium, which was originally the main auditorium for the church that was built, I think, in the 60s or 70s, after the original building burned down. I think I'm getting that right. But that building is also a full small city block, but that building is just a red brick square.
Yeah, that was the one with all of the signs on the side of it that said like that are hanging out vertically, like on the side of it, and I was like you would see like on the side of a movie theater or something.
Right. And then the new building is slightly larger, and it looks more like a church. There is a steeple on it and white columns, and it's got more external details and glass windows and such. Yeah,
it just looked kind of like an church. You know what I'm saying? It just looked it looked like a church building. It didn't look like they'd gone too over the top with it to try to make it look like glitzy and glamorous. It just looked like a building that was clearly a church, but not a building that was like trying to rub it in your face. You know what I'm saying?
Did it feel creepy or culty at all from the outside?
No, because like no one was there. There was nobody around it. I was just
I feel like that would be creepy.
Is it? Well, but the thing was, okay, is that I was in, and this is the thing that was worse than I expected, was I had never been to the industrial Midwest before. I'd never been to a place like Hammond, Indiana, which, I guess Hammond, Indiana is right next to Gary, Indiana, same, like similar sort of town.
In the heyday of First Baptist Church of Hammond, it was a steel mill town.
Yeah, and then the steel industry kind of dried up, and just driving through the town, because I had to drive through the town, and I actually also drove through Gary, Indiana, on my way.
Technically, my original home, Gary, Indiana.
Yeah. Wow.
I was born in Hammond, but I went home from the hospital to Gary.
Huh. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just like driving through, it just looks like a town where you could see places where businesses used to be, and then they're just like gone, or they're like the only thing that's there is like payday loans, and you're just like, oh man, it just looks like everyone left this place, and the people that are here just like, and also the other thing that made it feel like, oh, people can't get out of here was like, if you're driving on the highway in that part, I'm not used to toll roads, but like driving through, it's like, oh, a toll road. Oh, another toll road.
Mhm.
Oh, another toll road. Here, pay $4. Oh, pay $4 again. Oh, pay $4. And if you're, if you don't have a lot of money, which if you're living in Gary, Indiana or Hammond, Indiana, but chances are you probably don't have a lot of money and you need to drive into Chicago for something. Like that's not, that you don't want to have to pay all that money for those tolls all those times. So it just feels like it's a place where it's intentionally made to keep people in.
Mm.
And the people that left got out and they don't come back, and that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, the thing about Hammond is, in my experience, everyone who lives there, actually in the city of Hammond, either attends First Baptist Church or hates First Baptist Church.
There's
kind of no, because either you already go there or you get soul winners at your door every single weekend trying to get you to go there.
Oh man, okay, that's wild. Yeah,
I would think it would be kind of creepy though, just because of so many of the things that we have talked about on the podcast happened within that radius of a couple blocks. Jack Scott having his teenage victim in his office happened. I mean, if you walked around the area, you walked within 50 feet of where it happened, probably. Tom Kimmel running his illegal Ponzi scheme out of an office at First Baptist Church of Hammond. You walked past there. Jack Scott putting the church into massive debt to build that huge building. That happened there. When I went down and promised to be a missionary because little children were falling into a burning hell, that happened there. The railroad tracks where Dave Hiles allegedly got caught boinking in his car during pastor school. You drove over those railroad tracks. So that's, I think, where I would think it might be a little bit creepy because of so many things that we've talked about that happened there.
For me, I think it wasn't creepy because I didn't actually go inside the building and I didn't actually get to see, because I'd seen videos of church services at First Baptist Church of Hammond with like Jack Scott giving his polish shaft. If I'd actually been able to see the auditorium where that happened, then it might have been different for me. But for me, it was just like, oh, here's a town that's kind of not very nice. I mean, you always see like Gary, Indiana. I guess you don't see Hammond, but you see Gary, Indiana on the list of like worst places in America. And that, like, I always feel bad when I read one of those lists because I do feel like people like on Reddit, people will be like, don't ever go, if you ever drive through Gary, Indiana, you'll get murdered immediately.
Don't stop at a stoplight because they'll come take the rims off your car.
Yeah. You know what other place gets that reputation?
It's racist for one, and then also
it's hella racist.
It's mainly racist, but also a little bit like classist and just generally shit. But yeah, people do say something like that.
You know what other place gets that reputation? There's two places that you always see get that reputation. One is Gary, Indiana, and one is a place that's about a mile from me right now, which is Camden, New Jersey, which is, if you're in Philadelphia, there's a bridge, which is like right near my house, the George Washington Bridge, or is it it's a Ben Franklin Bridge. George Washington Bridge is in New York. There's a Benjamin Franklin Bridge that goes across the Delaware River, between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And on the other side of that bridge is a town called Camden, New Jersey. It's a city called Camden, New Jersey, which has basically the same sort of reputation as Gary, Indiana, in that it was like an industrial town. And I've been there. It's not like it doesn't feel like it's literally the worst place in the world. Like I'm going to get murdered just like walking down the street there. And that's what the internet makes it seem like is going to happen.
I've also lived in Cahokia, which is right next door to Sauget and East St. Louis. And East St. Louis has very much that same reputation. And if you think of East St. Louis like an L shape, Cahokia is like a rectangle in the crook of that L. So I grew up surrounded by East St. Louis, and there's crime that happens there, but it's not what people make it out to be.
Yeah, also, I do feel like it's also a little bit of like NIMBYism, or people want to feel like they're better than other people by saying, oh, well, I don't live in this place. This place is bad, and I'm glad that I don't live there. Right. Just to feel better about where they are in their lives. I don't know. Anyway, I did get to see First Baptist Church of Hammond in person. What I wanted to do was take was because I had with me the picture of Jack Hiles in my car. It was actually easily accessible. I actually let Emmy take a picture of it on and post it on Instagram. Take a picture with the picture of Jack Hiles that Sadie's dad gave to me. That's been decorated, you could say.
Yes.
And I wanted to take a picture of myself holding the photo in front of First Baptist Church of Hammond, but it was so cold out. It was like 12 degrees out. I just decided that I didn't want to get out of my car. And I got out of my car to walk over to the church because I parked in the Hammond Public Library parking lot. And then I walked like 2 blocks to get over to the church, but I didn't take the picture with me because I would have had to have my hands out of my pockets while I was doing that.
Yeah. So
it's just too cold.
I mean, imagine being me in college and you're required to wear a skirt and nylons are your only protection against the bitter cold.
Yeah.
Because when I volunteer tutored at Hammond High School, if we finished at the high school too long before the Wednesday night service was supposed to start, they would drop the tutors off at the Hammond Public Library. And that's where I read, so that library is where I read The Help for the first time. I think I had already seen the movie, unless I'm mistaken, but I read the book, and I would go reading books that I wasn't supposed to read at the Hammond Public Library until it was time for Wednesday night church, and then we would all have to walk over to the church.
And that's why they want to ban books.
Yep.
Yep. Anyway,
Okay.
we got this was an interesting conversation, and I'm glad that I got to see the part of the country where you came from. Like the thing was that if you drive 15 minutes south of there, it's the most beautiful place you've ever been in your entire life.
It's just pastoral farmland.
Yeah, because I was trying to avoid toll roads, and so if you avoid toll roads, it'll send you on Highway 30. And I drove on Highway 30, and it took me through.
Oh, you went right by the college. I think you could have stopped by the college.
Oh, huh. Okay. Well, yeah, I went. I didn't see signs for Crown Point. If I'd have seen signs for Crown Point, I would have put it on there, on my route. But then, I just drove down Highway 30, and it was just gorgeous. It was like the way the weather was, it was cold out, but it was, a little bit cloudy, and the sun was going through the clouds, and gorgeous, gorgeous part of the country. If you live in Indiana or you live in Ohio, beautiful places, truly, truly beautiful places. Fantastic. I saw a lot of beautiful country on my drive. Anyway, I think we should probably get to talking about this.
We were talking about the cities that have a reputation for being rough, and I was just thinking, what that city sounds like they need.
What? A certified circumcised dick that's a sex machine to all the chicks?
Yeah, a bad, bold, big-nosed biblical brother.
Yeah, so we're talking about Hebrew Hammer, the movie Hebrew Hammer, starring Adam Goldberg.
The Semitic super stud.
The Semitic super stud. It was made by Jonathan Kesselman, I think in 2003 is when this movie came out. It's almost 20 years old. It has it's starring Adam Goldberg, Judy Greer, and Andy Dick, of all people. Andy Dick is in this movie. And Mario Van Peebles, who's the son of Martin Van Peebles, who played Sweet Sweetback in Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song.
So this is a movie about the evil Santa Claus who wants to put an end to Hanukkah, and the superhero who is going to save Hanukkah. And of course, as we all know, Hanukkah is Jewish Christmas, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Right.
100%. If anybody ever says that, then that's 100% true, and that's not offensive at all.
Of course, we're joking. Hanukkah is not Jewish Christmas because
it's not even
Jewish
one of the
people
high
don't
holidays.
Celebrate Christmas because Christmas, that whole part.
I feel like we shouldn't need to say this.
I feel like we should. Yeah, but I feel like we have to say it because Carissa Collins exists.
I love Carissa Collins. She's so problematic. Out of all of the famous fun, she's not like J-Rod status for me, but she's like almost up there. She's getting up to J-Rod status because J-Rod hasn't been that interesting lately.
Her daughter got married. There was a little bit of creepy stuff about that, but
yeah, but that's just like normal J-Rod stuff.
Yeah, she hasn't taken a lot of non-consensual pictures of Amish people, crashed any funerals, or anything like that recently. Would you grace us by telling us what Hanukkah is? Just give us the elevator speech on that, or tell us how you celebrated that growing up.
Okay, so Hanukkah. This is one of those holidays, man. You could tell that like it's so. Who invaded? Was it the Greeks that invaded? I think it was the Greeks that somebody invaded Judea and said, you can't be Jewish, you can't practice your religion. And then the Jewish people led by Judah Maccabee revolted and threw out the invaders. And yeah, and that's kind of what happened. Then there's also this additional story onto that where like after I think it was all over, they had their menorah in the temple that they had to light with the consecrated oil. Problem was they had all of these barrels of oil, but only one of the barrels, I think, or only enough oil for like one day was consecrated enough. And it was going to take 8 days to send somebody to a different city and have them get other oil and bring it back.
So this is a liturgical problem.
Yeah, so this is like a liturgical problem that they're just like, well, we can't use this other oil because it's not like the right oil. And it's not, this is our holy menorah. We can't use this befouled oil or this not pure oil or whatever. I don't know what the deal with the oil was, but they couldn't use it for some reason. And they only had one barrel of the oil that they could use, and that was only enough for one day. So they burned the oil and it lasted for 8 days rather than lasting for one day. And the menorah never went out, and they got the oil that they needed back in time to make it work. I guess that's the holiday. This is really one of the. This isn't like our, as far as Jewish holidays go, we have like, oh, this is the new year. Oh, this is the day. Think about death. Okay, this is our festival. We're celebrating the harvest. Oh, this is the day that we remember when we were delivered from slavery. And then we have one where it's like, we won a war and
some lights did not go out, which was a great thing.
Yeah. And so as far as Jewish holidays go, it's not the most important, which I think is lucky, because if you're going to unnecessarily commercialize a holiday, you don't want it to be one that's like religiously very significant. That's my personal opinion.
That's actually a really good take. I kind of love that take. So did you, is it typical to get gifts at Hanukkah?
Yes.
And do you usually get like 8 different gifts for each night?
Yeah, you get gifts every day, but like on day 1 will usually be something good, and then like 7 and 8 will be good. But like on like 2, 3, and 4, you're getting socks, you're getting like underwear, you're getting school supplies on days 2, 3, and 4. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, but as a kid, I loved nothing more than getting school supplies as a present, so I would have loved that.
Oh my God. Oh man.
I will tell you, maybe we're accidentally appropriating Hanukkah in our house, because what Jonathan and I started doing a few years ago is we have socks and underwear amnesty at Christmas. So you know how you need new socks because too many of your socks have holes in them and you threw them away, or they're worn, or you can't find the match to it, but you kind of just hang on and use the socks you have because you don't really want to go out and buy more socks. Have you ever done that?
Or you put them in the dryer and then you take them out of the dryer and half of them are gone for some reason.
Right. So, and then you just kind of live that way because you don't want to go get, oh, I can make it. I still have 6 pairs of socks. This is fine as long as I still do laundry every 6 days. So what we do in our house is every year around Christmas time, you just go through, you get rid of all the socks and underwear that are not working anymore. You just get new ones, fix it once a year. So maybe we're accidentally appropriating Hanukkah. I'm not sure.
It's like a sock census.
Yes. Caesar, there we go. We can make it Christian again. Caesar did a census for all the people, so we do a census for all of our socks.
Anyway, Hebrew Hammer.
Yes.
We're talking about this movie. So the plot of the movie, do you want to talk about the plot? Do you want me to talk about the plot?
I have extensive notes on the plot, so I can lead on that.
I'll do a quick summary, just like a quick summary, and then we can do a deep dive a little bit. So basically,
let's do it.
Andy Dick is Damien, the evil son of Santa Claus and the heir to the red suit. He's going to be the next Santa Claus. His father, who is Santa Claus right now, is like very, pro religious tolerance, pro like saying happy holidays instead of Merry Christmas. Andy Dick has him murdered and becomes the new Santa Claus, and basically is just like crazy, and his whole thing is he's going to destroy Hanukkah and he's going to destroy Kwanzaa as well. And he puts various
which becomes important.
It becomes important. He puts various plots into action, and the Jewish Justice League hires the Hebrew Hammer, whose name is Mordecai Jefferson Carver, to go and stop evil Santa Claus. Mordecai Jefferson Carver teams up with Esther, played by Judy Greer. Yeah, and teams up with Muhammad Ali Paula Abdul Rahim from the Kwanzaa Liberation Front, played by Mario Van Peebles, and has to go and fight to stop evil Santa Claus. And they are successful in the end at stopping evil Santa Claus. More stuff happens along the way, but that's kind of it.
We'll talk about it. So I want to go to the opening scenes of the movie. And you should know up front, this movie is intended to poke fun at every Jewish stereotype that there is.
Yes.
And it's clearly done very lovingly. And it's incredibly funny.
It's a Jewish-made movie, so it's not like...
I may have felt bad about watching this if you had not told me to go watch it, though. I feel like if I had just found this movie and started watching it, I would have been like, oh my God, this is racist.
Okay, so what was your favorite bit from the beginning? Because in the beginning, we get to see young Hebrew Hammer in like Jewish. He's in public school, but the public school is St. Peter, Paul, and Mary Public School.
Right. So all the little Christian kids are celebrating Christmas, and he is left out of the Christmas celebrations. My favorite bit from the beginning, I think it's something that his teacher says. So the teacher is trying to explain to all of the little non-Jewish children why they should love and accept Mordecai and not make him such an outcast from their Christmas festivities. And the quote that she says is, "Just because they control all the world's money, yet they are too cheap to buy their children anything but spending tops for presents, doesn't mean we can't love and respect them."
Oh, man. Okay. Man, we should have shown this movie to Kanye West. Then maybe he would have turned out different.
What's really funny is, so when we put this movie into Amazon Prime to watch it, and what comes up when you type in Hebrew is the dangerous anti-Semitic film that Kanye West and Kyrie Irving have been referencing on the internet.
Yeah.
And, like, the second thing that comes up is Hebrew Hammer. Well, Jonathan posited, what if Kanye went to Amazon Prime to watch that other film, and then he accidentally found Hebrew Hammer, but he thought the whole thing was real?
Yeah.
And that's why he's acting the way he's acting right now. Look,
man, I mean, if that were true, then the whole thing is just to poke fun at that. I thought it was really funny. So he gets his little dreidel present that he's got, like, and it's not even one of, if you're Jewish, you know this, like, you had one of these dreidels, you know, the dreidel that's like the one that opens and you can put candy inside of it, but as like an actual dreidel for spinning, it's like the worst one. Like, you can't spin this one. Like, we've all tried to spin it, and then the top comes off, or it's just like, because it's hollow and made of plastic, it's just not a very good dreidel. but like Santa Claus comes by and stomps on it and crushes it.
Right. So he's playing with it outside of a store. The sight gags in this scene are amazing. There's several racist and problematic signs in the store windows. The one that I'm willing to read on the podcast said, "Monotheists need not apply."
Yeah. I mean,
and that's when Santa comes by and steps on the dreidel and shatters poor Mordecai's Hanukkah dreams.
See, the thing is, the funny thing about this scene for me is that, like, yeah, it's a bit extreme, but it's like not entirely like inaccurate. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that Chris, like, and I get that Christmas is actually an important holiday, and Hanukkah just like I'm just gonna say, like, Hanukkah is not that important a holiday for we. It's like on the list of holidays is like number 5, 6, maybe, I don't know, move some stuff around.
Do you think maybe it's more like St. Patrick's Day?
I don't know.
Like, it's a holiday that a lot of people like to celebrate, but it's not. I mean, it's not Christmas and Easter.
Well, I don't think it's not religiously significant, because there's a bunch of holidays that are like commanded in the Bible that like for instance, Rosh Hashanah. I think there's 5 holidays that you're commanded to celebrate in the Bible, and I'm trying to remember what they are. It's Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Passover, and I don't know. There's one
Purim,
more.
Maybe?
No, Purim isn't one that God, like, in the Torah commands that you celebrate. Because
I know that one's like fairly important, because you have to get so drunk that you can't tell the difference between Hammond and what's his face, Esther's uncle.
So the thing with Jewish holidays, there's 5 of them. I believe. When somebody says it, I'm going to feel like an absolute idiot for not remembering it. But
why don't you just Google it and pretend that you remembered it?
Because that would be intellectually dishonest. But there's holidays that we're like actually commanded to celebrate, like, by God. God says celebrate this holiday on this day, and then there's also holidays that just commemorate cool that happened or bad that happened. So I mean, and Christians, I don't know, Christians, you guys don't have actual holidays that you are commanded by God to celebrate, do you? Like, Jesus never
like
went.
not that come to mind.
Because Jesus wouldn't have told everybody, "Hey, make sure that you celebrate my birthday even after I'm dead."
Right.
Or he wouldn't have said, "Hey, celebrate the day that I die. I'm about to like get," or like after he comes back.
The thing that we're commanded to do religiously is to commemorate the crucifixion through communion. But there's not even a particular, like, the scripture does not say you have to do this weekly or daily or monthly or whatever. It just says that you're supposed to do it on a regular basis, whatever that means to you.
I mean, that makes sense. I guess it's just different traditions. No, like in the Torah, God says on this day, do on this, these are the days of your holidays. Like these days on this calendar.
Right, we don't have that. And a lot of church traditions do dictate that you're supposed to do certain things leading up to Easter, like celebrating Lent, but that's a church tradition that's not in scripture.
Yeah. So like the thing that I was trying to say though is that it does feel like sometimes, like during the Christmas season, it does kind of feel like this. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure that it does, and I'm sure that in this satire we get a little bit of truth about what it is like to not be a Christian during the Christian winter holiday. Oh,
so perfect example. I was my friend Megan took me to Home Goods yesterday in Delaware. She took me on a shopping trip. We went to a Costco and Home Goods in Delaware so that we didn't have to pay sales tax. And like the whole store, you walk into the Home Goods store and it's like Christmas exploded, and then there's like one like shelf that's like Hanukkah stuff.
Yeah. And I'm sure all the Hanukkah stuff is blue and white. Did you know? I found a really neat TikTok about why the Hanukkah colors are like blue and white or blue and silver.
Please tell me. I've wondered about this. I mean, they're great colors.
So that comes from the commercialization of Hanukkah to try to capitalize on people who aren't going to be celebrating Christmas and buying Christmas products.
Really?
Yeah. So
wow.
The people who were making the products needed something that was not red and green and would be visually distinct from the millions and millions of Christmas products.
Really?
Yeah. So and the blue does have a lot of significance in Judaism, of course. It's the color that you see most often in prayer shawls. It's the color in the flag of Israel. So it makes, and it is a religiously significant color. So it's not just randomly picked out of a hat. There is a reason behind it. But blue and white or blue and silver have no actual connection to Hanukkah. It's just what people made up because they wanted to sell people.
That's really interesting. Wow. I mean,
so all of that is according to someone on TikTok. I hope that they're right. But I thought that was really neat.
I would understand why that would be true. The thing is that blue and white are just like the colors that people most associate with Judaism anyway, just because like you were saying with the prayer shawls are blue and white. And man, that's really interesting.
I thought that was really interesting and really informative of the relationship that Hanukkah and Christmas have because of commercialization.
I mean, the thing is that a lot of times I feel bad for Christians in that you have this very religiously significant holiday. This is somebody who you believe is the savior of all mankind that is being born and brought into the world. And then people are using that as an excuse to hawk cars and get you into credit card debt. That's, I mean, I do kind of feel bad for Christians because and then it gets people, and I don't want to because this is entirely hypothetical, but think about being a gatekeepy type of person who would say you're not appreciating this holiday for the actual religious reasons for it. You're just appreciating this holiday for the getting stuff like getting more possessions and purely materialism, which is something that Jesus wasn't even about anyway.
Right. And then that leads to a lot of ultra-fundy families who barely celebrate Christmas. I don't think Carissa Collins does Christmas at all.
I wish that she would do Christmas and leave Passover alone, because she's got to she doesn't even, you know what it's like? It's like
cut a watermelon up for Christmas and leave the Passover watermelon out of this.
What's the Passover watermelon? What?
You don't remember last year for her Passover, she had a watermelon that was engraved with the words Lamb of God.
Why a watermelon?
I don't know. I do not know.
This is okay. I'm gonna have to come back to that at some other point because that's truly wild. But you know what it's, that meme where it's like, we want this, well, we have that at home.
Yes. Anyway, let's continue on with the plot of the movie.
If you've ever seen the movie Shaft, there's a theme song in the movie Shaft sung by Isaac Hayes. The Hebrew Hammer does a send up of that theme song, but makes it Jewish instead of being an R&B song.
Yeah. It's all just done so perfectly. So in this movie, little Mordecai, who was traumatized by Santa stomping on his dreidel, grows up to be the Hebrew Hammer, who is a private detective type character who goes around town helping out Jewish people.
He's the certified circumcised dick who's the sex machine to all the chicks.
Yes. So he runs into a problem because as we talked about in our summary, Santa Claus' evil son, Damien, wants to go ahead and take over the Santa Claus empire. His father is way too inclusive and wants to have peace with the people who celebrate Hanukkah and the people who celebrate Kwanzaa. His grandfather, so the father of the current Santa, was known as Saint Nick the Nasty, and that's the guy who stomped on little baby Mordecai's dreidel. He wanted to wipe out Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and all other winter holidays in favor of Christmas, and Damien, who is next in line to the Santa Claus throne, wants to follow in his grandfather's footsteps. So he brutally murders his father during a business meeting at the North Pole.
Yeah, he has the reindeer do it.
Which is very, very typical of the genre of movie which they are sending up here. Just having one scene that has a ridiculous amount of fake blood.
And the I like that, you know, the part where he puts the hat on.
That was the next thing I'm gonna say. So he picks up the bloody Santa hat off of his deceased father's head and like throws it on his head at a jaunty angle, and he is going to be the next Santa Claus.
He's like, I'm Santa now.
So let's actually,
it's Andy Dick. It's just.
Let's go take up the offering, and when we come back, we will talk about how the Hebrew hammer saves Hanukkah.
Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Life changes are difficult to navigate. For example, I had a big life change this year when I moved across the country. Figuring out all of the logistics of that move was overwhelming at times, and I didn't know what to do. I know so many people feel the same way. Luckily, therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. I know when I am in a situation and I feel unsure about that situation, therapy can help me figure out what the best decision for me is and how to prioritize my own needs. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Eden. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Eden.
Hey, Sadie here. If this is your first time listening to the Leaving Eden podcast, make sure you go back and check out episode 57. It's a primer episode for new listeners. That episode tells my personal story and gives you all the terms and information that you'll need to know going forward. Also, check out our cult true crime series, The First Family of Fundamentalism, so that you can get the whole cult story. If you like our show, you can support us by joining our Patreon, where we have extended and uncensored episodes as well as other bonus content available. You can also join in the discussion in our Facebook group. That group is called Eden Exodus. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell your worst enemy. The Leaving Eden podcast is a fully independent podcast, and we really appreciate your support. Now, back to the show.
We are back from our break. We're talking about Hebrew Hammer. I just heard some Christmas music walking down to get a couple packages because the bar that I live on top of in Old City is currently a Christmas pop-up.
So it's a great time to do this episode.
It is a great time to do this episode. It's a nice bar. I've spent some time there and I really enjoyed it. They have good food.
So upon hearing the news that Santa's evil son Damien wants to wipe out Hanukkah, the Jewish Justice League has to get involved.
Yeah. So do we want to talk?
I was going to say, can you tell us about the JJL?
So the JJL, let's see. Okay, so this is going to take us back. Do you remember that Chick Tract episode that we were talking about.
Yes, how could I forget?
There was one with the old man who was the Holocaust survivor, and his and the weirdo dude was like, "Did you know what an Inquisition is?" And this old man's like, "I had no idea that the Holocaust was so bad, even though I experienced it."
Yes.
Let me convert to Jesus. No, you remember that? Like, but I remember at the beginning of that, and this really stuck out to me because it was like such a like very confusing thing where they had like the like a neo-Nazi rally or something at the beginning. And somebody's like, "Man, if the JDL showed up here, things would really pop off." And I'm just like, the JDL is such like a very niche thing that you wouldn't know about it unless you knew about it. It's like
right.
It's like a Jewish extremist group.
Well, I thought that Chick made that up for the comics, and then you had to tell me, "Oh no, this is a real thing."
No, the JDL, that was a real thing. That they're yeah, the JDL is a real thing, but it's like legit a terrorist group.
Right.
That like they like kill people and stuff. And so they had a different group. I guess it was kind of like a send up of that called the JJL.
Yeah, and
but
mixed with like the inside of the building looks like the United Nations kind of.
Yeah, it's like the UN, but for Jews, and their building where they meet is like the Pentagon, but if it was a Star of David.
Yeah, that was on my list of things to talk about because the sight gags in this movie are amazing. Well, at the JJL, they're very concerned about this new Santa Claus situation. The head of the JJL is a wild-eyed dude in a military uniform who is constantly eating bagels while he talks.
Yeah, or hard candy.
Right. And they want to get the Hebrew Hammer to work with them to take down this new Santa, but they have had a falling out with the Hebrew Hammer in the past because they feel like his methods are too extreme, and now he doesn't want to work with them anymore. The hot daughter of the head of the JJL volunteers to seduce the Hebrew Hammer into being willing to work with them.
Honestly, it's a great film. It's got so Esther is the name of the daughter. It's Esther Blumenstein and Felden. What is it? It's Esther. Let me look this up. It's
Blumenberg and Steinenthal.
Yeah, Esther Blumenberg and Steinenthal, played by Judy Greer. She
volunteers to use her feminine wiles to get the Hebrew Hammer to be willing to work with the JJL again.
So when it's using your feminine wiles, is that what the Fundies are talking about when?
Yes. I don't need the end of that sentence. The answer is yes.
When you're trying to get him to come to Jesus, you have to use your feminine wiles.
Yes, a little bit of a trigger warning, flirty fishing. So, Esther, Esther shows up to Hebrew Hammer's office space to try to convince him to work with the JJL, and we get this really cute little film noir scene in the movie where it's filmed in black and white, and she's got a very 1940s outfit and hairstyle and makeup style going on. It is really neat, creative scene that's thrown in the middle of this movie. Under pressure from his mother to get married, Hebrew Hammer agrees to possibly work with the JJL if Esther will come to dinner with him at his mother's house.
Yes.
So she comes to dinner with him at his mother's house. The mother is a very stereotypical, overbearing Jewish mother. Hilarity ensues. Their cat is named Mazel Tov. And
what did you think of the cat with the diaper? The cat
diapers?
In the diaper. Yeah.
That was cute. I don't know if over babying your cats is specifically a Jewish trait. It may just more be a old lady with a cat trait.
The other thing that I'm thinking about is, I don't know if this is also a Jewish trait, is if we have Jewish listeners, please please tell me if your family members do this too, is just having wildly inappropriate dinner time conversations or behavior, like at the
General
dinner
lack of
table.
boundaries.
General lack of boundaries at the dinner table, like when they're airing out the cat's diaper at the dinner table, just like I'm trying to think of an example.
Everybody is
that
talking
happened in
about their gas. Esther and Hebrew Hammer's mother get into, when he excuses himself from the table to use the bathroom, the two of them make an agreement that, you know, his mother wants him to get married, wants him to date a nice Jewish girl. Esther wants him to help out her dad over at the JJL. So they make a bit of a handshake agreement that Esther will continue giving him, at least date him for a little while, and his mother will force him to work with the JJL. And this was cute. This was one of my like cutest scenes in the movie.
Yeah, and then his mother proceeds to just straight up guilt him into taking the job with the JJL. It was
right.
Masterful
Right.
stuff.
Like, who's gonna save Hanukkah? And you know, my friend's sons, they're all accountants and doctors and lawyers, and what is my son doing?
Yeah.
So he goes to the JJL to meet with the head of the JJL. There is a whole series of tests to determine whether or not he is Jewish, like a security system to let him in the building. The final test is being forced to wait for a few minutes and then seeing how much the person whines and complains during that wait.
Sadie, if we were gonna make a test, like if they had a test to see if you could get into the IFB, like what would the test be? So like if it was like a test to see if you could get into First Baptist Church of Hammond, like meetings or something, like they're not their staff meeting or just something like that.
I feel like it would be like, how angry do you get and how many conspiracy theories do you come up with?
Really?
Yeah. Like, oh, this is discrimination. I bet these people don't even believe in the King James Bible. And that, well, if you read the NIV, that tells you that the verse about "I stand at the door and knock" it reads different in the NIV, and they just go on a conspiracy theory like that. I think that's what the test would be.
Wait, so they would lock you outside of a door, and then it would be an NIV interpretation of standing at the door and knocking?
Well, no,
or would you have to stand at the door and knock in King James?
The Jewishness scale, although that could be another one. Do you knock on the door on the 1 and 3 or the 2 and 4?
They play a beat and there's like they play like a really hot track, and if you dance to it then you can't get in.
Well, the final test though to see if someone was Jewish was to see how much they whine and complain. So I think the final test to see if somebody is fundy is how mad do they get and how many conspiracy theories do they come up with.
But fundies are totally fine just like waiting and stuff. Are they fine just like sitting and waiting, or do they not like that?
No, they don't like that because that's time that you could spend out witnessing to people.
What about ACE?
Well, that's training children. That's different because children aren't people in Fundy World.
Well, if it says maybe it'd be like an obedience test.
I feel like most fundies would fail an obedience test.
Really? Well, then what are they training their children for? Are they just beating them for the hell of it?
Yes.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn. Okay.
So let's see what happens next. Hebrew Hammer teams up with the Kwanzaa Liberation Front to fight evil Santa. He gets some bad information about somebody who might be willing to help him out. They give him the address of a Nazi bar because they think he's gonna like walk in and get killed and not be able to help out the JJL. Instead, he orders Manischewitz and then beats up everybody in the Nazi bar.
That's like an elite scene. Every time I'm like, I send that scene like in YouTube video to so many people, just like all the time. It's one of my favorite things to be ever captured on TV in film.
See, I feel like after the year that you and all Jewish listeners have had, you deserve to watch the Hebrew Hammer beat up Nazis as much as you want to.
What was your take on Santa's evil plan to destroy Jewish pride with It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah, so Evil Santa says that he has found the most addictive Jewish pride weakening substance known to man, which is VHS copies of It's a Wonderful Life. My favorite part of that whole scene was the song that played in the background. Did you catch that?
Yeah, it's I'm Your Pusher Man.
Yeah, the song that plays in the background is Pusher Man by Curtis Mayfield. They're literally... I mean, no better song in the world for the evil Santa and his henchmen handing out VHS copies of It's a Wonderful Life to all the little Jewish children that they see.
What was your take on the idea that It's a Wonderful Life is the Jewish pride killing a substance?
That I'm not sure I really got.
You didn't?
I mean, have you seen It's a Wonderful Life?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I haven't seen it in a lot of years, but I don't think it's that good. I mean, I really like it.
No, it's not
a good movie. I just don't think it's that good.
It's not just that it's like that it's like a good movie. I feel like it's that it's a film that it's I don't know if I can
evil guy
explain.
in that Jewish coded in a way that I didn't pick up on, maybe?
I mean, wait, is he that? Hold on, let me look him up. Let me look up the
evil banker guy.
Yeah, he's a banker, so automatically Jewish coded. Let's see, banker. I can't remember what it's.
I've seen that movie a lot of times, but it's been a while. Yeah, Potter, because Potter's Field.
He doesn't look Jewish in this picture. He looks like.
And I can't think of anything specifically that would have made him Jewish coded. Although I certainly could be missing stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the movie in a while. I do think that it's like I think that it's more just like, you know how in like the evangelical in like the Jesus movement, people like hella people got swept up into that who could have just been like maybe they were raised culturally Jewish but not religiously Jewish, and they got kind of swept into the Jesus movement.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that same effect where It's a Wonderful Life is such, I don't want to say it's like such strong like Christmas pride, because it's like a Christmas movie, but it has a lot of religious themes in it. I don't know. I don't know if I could really explain it, but it like there is something in there. When I saw that, I thought it was so funny, and I died when I saw that gag, but I don't know if I totally like if I can totally intellectualize why.
Well, if it comes to you, let me know. I can tell our listeners what Hebrew Hammer does to fix this problem.
Yeah, please do it.
He gets a trunk full of VHSs of Yentl and Fiddler on the Roof.
And The Chosen.
Right, and The Chosen. To go pass out to children. So he's just fixing the damage, I guess. Up next was one of the funnier parts of the movie. Hebrew Hammer and Esther go undercover at the mall to meet the evil Santa. They want to confront him and then kidnap him is their plan. But they have to go undercover as people who celebrate Christmas.
What did you think of Judy Greer's Southern Belle impression?
What I thought was that her I Love Jesus pen was hilarious. Her accent was good, though. I noticed a bad Southern accent very easily, and hers was pretty good. They finagle themselves in to see Santa while dressed as undercover Christians, and they are unable to kidnap the evil Santa because Santa weaponizes the army of Christian children who he has personally poisoned against all Jewish people against them. So Santa is literally teaching these children blood libel on Santa's lap, which was would have been a lot funnier if I didn't know about how harmful, dangerous, and prevalent blood libel is.
Yeah, well,
that one would have been funnier like a year ago for me.
What did you think? What did you think about Santa's? He had it's Andy Dick and he's got he's just like using a candy cane to snort rails of cocaine before getting children to sit on his
overage
lap.
child. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I suppose if you're doing this style of movie, it's hard to not have some drug use in it.
Yeah.
So, Hebrew Hammer and Esther escape on the Underground Jewish Railroad, which is like a Tunnel of Love style, like a Pirates of the Caribbean, or It's a Small World style roller coaster, like amusement park ride. You know, where you go through you float on this little boat through the different rooms and you see different things, like Haunted Mansion kind of style.
Question.
Yes.
What did you think of the decision to make Santa appear at Kmart of all stores?
Is that where it was?
Yeah, it was at a Kmart.
I didn't notice.
You didn't notice? That didn't pop out to you? That wasn't, because for me that felt like such a sight gag.
I don't get it.
You didn't, because I don't know. I feel like Kmart is the most goyish of all like the stores, right?
You know, I'm not gonna disagree with you on that. That makes sense.
Yeah, because like if he was appearing for Jewish people, then he would have gone to like Bloomingdale's or something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know. I did not notice that it was at Kmart.
You didn't notice it was Kmart? Okay. I like, because that jumped right out at me. I'm like, oh, of course they're going to Kmart.
So after escaping through the Underground Jewish Railroad, Hebrew Hammer and Esther get back to his apartment where they're drinking and dancing. Esther says, maybe we should try a different type of dancing. And Mordecai says, oh, like the hora? So that was there are several really funny gags in that scene. She asks him to talk dirty to her, and he says things like, I'm gonna quit the detective business and get a real stable job. We can buy a house in Long Island. We can have a couple of kids together.
Somewhere fancy, but not fancy schmancy.
Yes. So Hebrew Hammer and Esther bang, but unfortunately Evil Santa has a final plan. I probably shouldn't say the words final plan in this context, should I? It's not going to Evil Santa has an additional plan to end Hanukkah once and for all. He is going to destroy the Jewish atomic clock in Jerusalem, which is run by, what is the element that runs the Jewish atomic clock?
I think it was Judaism was the element. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was for me, this plot point just felt kind of like it didn't really feel like it was referenced. That felt like the weakest plot point of the film to me personally.
It went a little too sci-fi for the genre.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because it is funny. So the Jewish atomic clock is run by this element that's only found in Israel, and this clock is the clock that keeps track of the Jewish calendar, which is funny because the Jewish calendar is actually a lunar calendar, which seems a little bit more stable. And but anyway, Evil Santa is going to destroy this atomic clock, thereby ending Hanukkah forever, because no one will have any way to know when Hanukkah is. So there's a final boss battle being set up where Evil Santa is going to destroy this clock. Hebrew Hammer and Esther have to prevent him from destroying this clock. They meet up at the clock in Jerusalem and they have a confrontation. Hebrew Hammer says to Evil Santa, let's dance the hora. And Evil Santa says, you're a hora, which got a pretty good laugh from me.
What did you think of Tiny Tim being Santa's sidekick?
He just annoyed me.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't like Tiny Tim? You weren't into the Tiny Tim?
Was not a fan of the Tiny Tim character. I found him very annoying. Then again, he's a villain, so it makes sense, I guess. So Hebrew Hammer and Esther are trying to take down Evil Santa and his henchmen, but unfortunately, the sun goes down for Sabbath and they both fall asleep because Sabbath is a day of rest. At which point I turned to my husband and said, man, I wish we just got to sleep for 24 hours a day. one day a week. That sounds amazing.
And just get all your sleep in for the week. That'd be convenient. Just like,
Yeah, I might have to convert again. Fortunately, the KLF, the Kwanzaa Liberation Front, show up, and they are not sleeping because it's not their day of rest. They show up and save the Jewish atomic clock from evil Santa. They're able to save the Hebrew hammer, but evil Santa kidnaps Esther. So we have one more battle where evil Santa is going to have to be taken down. So Hebrew hammer and the KLF leader are going to the North Pole to take down evil Santa once and for all. Did you have any thoughts on the whole North Pole final battle?
the Jewish guilt aspect to me was the biggest aspect.
Wait, what part specifically of the movie?
That's the weapon that he used. It was the final and worst weapon that he used to defeat evil Santa.
Oh, right. There are a lot of, I thought, funny sight gags and little inside jokes in this leading up to the final battle. So Santa's village at the North Pole is protected by a stereotype alarm system. So
right.
So it'll alert him if anybody behaves in a stereotypical way. And Hebrew Hammer and Muhammad Ali, Paula Abdul Rahim are doing a great job of not doing any stereotypical things to set off the alarm until Hebrew Hammer walks past a penny on the ground and picks it up, which sets off the Judar alert. But finally, when it gets down to the final battle, Hebrew Hammer uses Jewish guilt, the most powerful weapon, to defeat evil Santa and rescue Esther, and proposes to her. And now they will live happily ever after. The end.
So Sadie, you know, at the end of the movie, when Hebrew Hammer looks at evil Santa Claus and says, "You know what the real problem is that you never understood the true meaning of Hanukkah." Yes. What did you think of that? What was your take on that?
I thought that was just a perfect dig at the end of every the lazy end of every Christmas movie.
Yeah. The thing is that like no one really knows the true meaning of Hanukkah is such a the nature of the holiday. Like you could either say, oh, it's a holiday about having faith in God or something like that, or you could say that it's a holiday about overthrowing your colonial oppressors, or you could say it's a holiday about religious freedom, or you could say it's a holiday about frying things in oil.
Well, that would be the same if the end of your Christmas movie was, well, it's you learned about the true meaning of Christmas. Well, what's the true meaning of Christmas? Is it that Jesus was born, or is it the joy and togetherness that we find at the holidays, or some other like that?
Yeah. Ew.
Drivel.
Yeah. Or it could be like an elf. The sleigh runs on Christmas cheer.
Right.
They have to sing Christmas songs to get it to take off again.
Hey, don't come for the Santa Claus though. That's a great movie.
I've never seen the Santa Claus.
The original Santa Claus movie
with Tim Allen
gave me one of my all-time favorite moments with my dad. There is a scene in that movie where Tim Allen is just learning how to be Santa Claus, and he's not very good at it yet. And at one house, he has to deliver a kayak as the Santa Claus present. And he leans the kayak up against the Christmas tree, and as he's about to go up the chimney and leave, the kayak slips and slips and slips, and then very slowly falls over onto the Christmas tree, and the Christmas tree comes crashing down. And that is the hardest I ever saw my dad laugh.
Wow.
He literally rolled on the floor laughing.
What year did that movie come out?
I can look it up.
The Santa Claus.
Around 2003, maybe.
1994, the first one.
We saw it for the first time. I know what house we were in. So it would have to be between 2001 and 2004.
when it comes to Christmas movies, I have not seen many of them. Like all of the ones that people talk about, in my opinion, Love Actually is the worst movie ever made by any person ever.
I've never seen that.
Don't. It's a horrible film. And don't come for me because I said it was bad. It's terrible. And it's just like it's bad and I hate it.
Back to Hebrew Hammer though. This movie, you know what this made me want to see?
What?
This made me want to see a parody of a Hallmark movie that is a Hanukkah movie.
Interesting. So if we were going to come up with a Hallmark Hanukkah parody movie, what would it be?
I think it would be somebody who is raised like culturally Christian, but isn't really a believer, and they are fed up with Christmas and all, like they hate red and green, and they're a big Grinch, and then their NJG or NJB, as the case may be, shows up to welcome them into the world of Hanukkah and show them what a magical time of year it is.
Maybe. I don't know, because I feel like it doesn't really work in reverse though.
That's what makes it funny though.
Yeah, but I feel like if you're making a parody Hallmark movie about Hanukkah, then I feel like that's not really made for a Jewish audience. If you're like the magic of Hanukkah, like if you talk about like, you know what Hanukkah is for a lot of us? Hanukkah is for a lot of us the Adam Sandler song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a holiday that we take that serious. It's a fun holiday. Don't get me wrong. We celebrate it, but like a lot of us don't really take Hanukkah that serious.
See, I think that's what would make the movie funny though, because it's playing on the same concept that we see in Hebrew Hammer, where in universe, Hanukkah is this incredibly serious thing, although in real life, for most people, it's not.
Yeah, but they like, I don't know, in Hebrew Hammer, they kind of nod at it. I don't like the
That's what I want from the Hallmark movie, though. I want it to be a parody. I want it to be sarcasm.
I mean, I see how that could work. The thing is that, like, I feel like we're not really... I feel like it's a very Christian thing to try and bring outsiders into your holiday celebrations and then just kind of try to put it everywhere. And if somebody's like, oh, I hate Christmas, or if somebody's like, I hate Christmas, you're like, oh, well, clearly you just haven't experienced it properly or whatever. I feel like that's a very Christian thing to do.
Okay, so what would your Hallmark Hanukkah movie be then?
My Hallmark Hanukkah movie, I'm trying to think of, so I haven't seen a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh, I haven't either. I've seen like 2 or 3. Sometimes my family likes to watch them to make fun of them.
I feel like the Hallmark Christmas movies are slowly being replaced by like Netflix Christmas movies.
Yeah, but it's the same concept.
Okay, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like a Hanukkah movie. You know what it would be? It would be like one where maybe like Judah Maccabee comes forward in time and has to teach somebody how to stand up for himself. I feel like that would be your Hallmark Hanukkah movie.
Yeah, what there has to be though is a really, really sappy love story. That's the key to what makes a Hallmark movie a Hallmark movie. There has to be like a really forced sappy love story.
And with the actors just having zero chemistry with one another.
The last Hanukkah movie, or the last Christmas movie, like Hallmark Christmas movie that I saw with my parents a couple of years ago was that. The plot was kind of cute. The actors had less chemistry than any 2 people that I have ever seen in my entire life.
And you've been to a lot of Fundie weddings, so.
And I've been to a lot of Fundie weddings.
It was a stunning indictment.
Incredibly bad. Just because the actors looked like they were literally disgusted by each other and could not stand being in the same room.
I mean, they probably couldn't. They were like, somebody was probably just there for a check, and the other person was like, "This is my big break. I'm gonna make it." And their co-star is just like, "I don't like. I'm phoning this in.
I quit caring 10 years ago."
Oh yeah. Oh, just chewed up and spit out by the industry, man.
Well, this was a really fun time. Thank you for finally forcing me to watch The Hebrew Hammer. That was incredibly worth it.
Next year, Sadie, do you want to give the people a preview of what we're coming out with in 2 weeks from now? Tell them what we're coming out with.
Yeah, so when we come back from our 1 week break, our first episode back will be a cult that we have never covered and very rarely even referenced on this show. It is one of the best known cults along with the Branch Davidians, but we haven't really talked about it. We're going to be doing a deep dive into Jonestown, and I'm really excited to get into it.
This one should be really good. This is one that people have asked us about quite a lot too.
People tend to, hey, what do you think? Ask me, hey, what do you think about X? And whatever it is something that they either think or know is a cult. And this is when it comes up a lot because it's got the name recognition. But I think that there are things that we can pull out given my own cult experience that will be relevant. I will tell you, I researched, I did 45 minutes to an hour of background research, just getting the timeline in my head so that I can tell the story properly. And I found stuff that was way more disturbing than I anticipated. So that's going to be interesting to handle that information in the context of the episode.
But yeah, we've got a bunch of really good content coming up on January 30th. Sadie, have you pre-ordered this book yet?
No.
Have you?
I have not pre-ordered it. I'm just going to buy the Kindle edition on the day that it comes out and then speed read.
Okay, well, I'm going to get the audiobook when it eventually comes out. We're going to do a review of Ginger Duggar Vuolo's book on January 30th. We're going to tell what we think about it. We're going to give truly our honest opinions, our honest feelings about this.
Yeah, her book comes out on January 23rd. So I'm putting myself on a real tight deadline. I'm probably going to have to read it overnight and record the next day. But I'm really interested to hear what she has to say. She says that it's not a tell-all book. You
know what that means? That means it's absolutely a tell-all book.
I kind of think it is, because if you read the last book that Ginger and Jeremy published, which I think was called The Hope We Hold, that one had a lot of information. So I'm really thinking that this one is going to be similar. And she says that she's going to be talking about the ways that IBLP theology negatively affected her. So I know that it will still be a very religious book with religious conclusions, because that's what she has let us know ahead of time. But I am interested to see how far she'll go with it. And I want to get that information out to our listeners as quickly as we can once it's published.
What if it's just got mad bombshells in it, where she's actually, we're both atheists now, just full on atheists now. It's a religious book with religious conclusions, and our religious conclusions is that there is no God.
That would certainly be interesting. Man, Jeremy would have wasted a lot of money.
Yeah, he bought so many Yeezys now, and he can't. I'm laughing at Jeremy for buying all those Yeezys, and now you can't wear Yeezys anymore, or people think you're a Nazi.
I mean, he put a lot of money into his ongoing, I think, master's degree now from Christian seminary. So that would be pretty awkward for him.
He'll have to show up at Hillsong wearing some Skechers or some New Balance. Yeah.
Well, if Ginger and Jeremy are turning atheist, we will certainly let you know. But even if they are not, we will be covering that book coming up in the new year. We have a lot of other things planned for January that we're really excited about.
Absolutely. So if you like our show, you can follow us on you can hit that subscribe button on wherever you're listening to the podcast. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Leaving Eden Podcast, on Twitter at Leaving Eden Pod. Sadie, do you want to plug your social media?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram at Sadie Carpenter Music, on Twitter at Hell Yeah Sadie, and on TikTok at Sadie Carpenter 1.
And you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GAVRIELHACOHEN. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next year. Bye-bye.
But old rolling river regrets, no confusion. There'll be no pollution. I'm so thankful I've decided to change my ways. I'm so thankful I decided